Biblical numbers, often explored through the lens of biblical numerology, refer to the symbolic and spiritual significance of numbers as they appear in the Bible. Far from being mere numerical values, these numbers are believed to carry deeper meanings, reflecting theological truths, divine patterns, and spiritual principles. The King James Bible, first published in 1611 and revered for its literary and spiritual authority, is a primary source for studying these numbers due to its widespread use and historical influence within Christian traditions. The origins of biblical numerology lie in ancient Hebrew and early Christian interpretive traditions. In Hebrew culture, numbers were imbued with symbolic importance, a practice influenced by the broader ancient Near Eastern context where numerology was prevalent. For example, the number 7 often signifies completeness, and 40 represents a period of testing. Early Christians built upon these traditions, seeing numbers in Scripture as divinely inspired markers of God's order and purpose. Biblical numerology is not about divination or superstition but about discerning the spiritual significance embedded in the text to better understand God's nature and His plan for humanity. In the King James Bible, numbers frequently appear in contexts that suggest intentional symbolic meaning. The number 2, for instance, is often associated with duality, partnership, witness, or division, as seen in the pairing of animals in Noah's Ark, Genesis 7 verse 2, or the 2 witnesses in Revelation 11 verse 3. These patterns invite readers to explore the theological and practical implications of numbers, enriching their understanding of Scripture. Do biblical numbers have a role in daily life? The relevance of biblical numbers in daily life varies depending on one's faith perspective. For many Christians, studying biblical numbers enhances their engagement with Scripture, offering insights into God's character and His work in the world. Recognizing the symbolism of numbers can deepen personal devotion, inform prayer, and provide a framework for interpreting life's events through a spiritual lens. For example, the number 2 might prompt reflection on the importance of partnership in marriage or the need for mutual support in a church community. While biblical numerology is not a prescriptive tool for decision-making, it serves as a hermeneutical aid, helping believers uncover layers of meaning in the Bible. In daily life, this practice can foster a sense of awe at God's intentional design, encourage alignment with biblical values, and inspire practical applications, such as pursuing unity or embracing one's role as a witness to faith. Though not all Christians emphasize numerology, those who do find it a meaningful way to connect scriptural truths to their everyday experiences. The meaning and symbolism of the number 2 in the King James Bible. The number 2 in the King James Bible is rich with symbolic meaning, representing duality, partnership, witness, confirmation, and occasionally division or contrast. Below, we explore its significance through scriptural examples, theological insights, and practical applications, providing a comprehensive understanding of its role in the Bible and its relevance today. 1. Partnership and union. The number 2 frequently symbolizes partnership and union, reflecting the idea of 2 entities coming together for a shared purpose. One of the earliest examples is in Genesis 2 verse 24, which describes the institution of marriage. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. Here, the number 2 represents the union of 2 individuals into a single, complementary whole, highlighting the divine design for partnership in marriage. The theme of partnership also appears in God's creation. In Genesis 7 verse 2, Noah is instructed to take animals into the ark in pairs. Of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by 7s, the male and his female, and of beasts that are not clean by 2, the male and his female. The pairing of male and female underscores the importance of 2 as a unit for reproduction and preservation, reflecting God's plan for continuity. Symbolism. The number 2 signifies the strength and harmony of partnership, whether in marriage, community, or creation. It emphasizes mutual support and shared purpose. Application in daily life. The number 2 encourages believers to value relationships that reflect biblical partnership, such as marriage, friendship, or collaboration in ministry. It calls for mutual respect, support, and unity in working toward common goals, reminding individuals to nurture their connections with others. 2. Witness and testimony. In biblical tradition, the number 2 is closely tied to the concept of witness and testimony, as truth is often established through the confirmation of 2 witnesses. This principle is rooted in Deuteronomy 19 verse 15. One witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity, or for any sin, in any sin that he sinneth, at the mouth of 2 witnesses, or at the mouth of 3 witnesses, shall the matter be established. The requirement of 2 witnesses ensures reliability and accountability, a principle that carries into the New Testament. Jesus reinforces this in Matthew 18 verse 16, stating, "But if he will not hear thee, then take with thee 1 or 2 more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established." Additionally, the sending of disciples in pairs, Mark 6 verse 7, reflects the power of 2 as a unit of witness. "And he called unto him the 12, and began to send them forth by 2 and 2, and gave them power over unclean spirits." The pairing of disciples emphasizes mutual support and the shared testimony of Christ's message. In Revelation 11 verse 3, the 2 witnesses prophesy during the end times, further illustrating the number 2 as a symbol of divine testimony. "And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth." Symbolism, the number 2 represents the strength of testimony and the establishment of truth through mutual confirmation. It underscores the importance of bearing witness to God's work. Application in daily life, the number 2 challenges believers to be faithful witnesses to their faith, often in partnership with others. This might involve sharing the gospel with a friend, participating in a church outreach, or supporting a fellow believer in their spiritual journey. It also encourages accountability and collaboration in living out one's faith. 3. Confirmation and agreement. The number 2 also signifies confirmation and agreement, particularly in the context of divine or human covenants. In Amos 3 verse 3, the rhetorical question highlights the necessity of agreement. "Can 2 walk together, except they be agreed?" This verse suggests that harmony and alignment are required for 2 to function as a unit, whether in human relationships or in one's walk with God. In the New Testament, Jesus emphasizes the power of agreement in prayer in Matthew 18 verse 19. "Again I say unto you, that if 2 of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven." The number 2 here represents the spiritual authority that comes from unified prayer and agreement. Symbolism, the number 2 symbolizes the strength and divine favor that accompany agreement and confirmation, whether in prayer, covenant, or purpose. Application in daily life, the number 2 invites believers to seek agreement with others in prayer and decision-making, trusting in God's promises. It also encourages alignment with God's will, fostering a life of harmony and shared purpose. Practically, this might mean praying with a spouse or friend or seeking consensus in church leadership. 4. Duality and contrast. While the number 2 often signifies unity, it can also represent duality, contrast, or division. This is evident in the biblical theme of 2 opposing paths or choices. For example, Matthew 7 verses 13 to 14 contrasts 2 gates. "Enter ye in at the strait gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way, that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat, because strait is the gate, and narrow is the way, which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it." The number 2 here highlights the choice between 2 destinies, life or destruction. Similarly, the number 2 can denote division, as seen in the separation of light and darkness in Genesis 1 verse 4. "And God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness." This act of division reflects the number 2 as a marker of distinction between 2 states or entities. Symbolism, the number 2 can represent the tension of duality, the necessity of choice, or the divine act of separating good from evil, truth from falsehood. Application in daily life, the number 2 prompts believers to discern between right and wrong, making intentional choices that align with God's truth. It also encourages reflection on areas of life where division or conflict may need resolution, fostering a pursuit of peace and clarity. 5. Theological and cultural context. In the broader theological and cultural context, the number 2 carries additional significance. In Hebrew, the number 2 is represented by the letter Beth, which means house or duality, suggesting a structure or relationship built on 2 components. This aligns with the biblical emphasis on pairs, such as the 2 tablets of the 10 Commandments, Exodus 31 verse 18, symbolizing the covenant between God and his people. In Christian theology, the number 2 can also point to the dual nature of Christ, fully God and fully man, or the two comings of Christ, his first coming as a servant and his second as king. These theological truths enrich the symbolic weight of the number 2. Symbolism. The number 2 reflects the balance and complementarity inherent in God's design, whether in creation, covenant, or Christology. Application in daily life. Understanding the cultural and theological nuances of the number 2 can deepen one's appreciation for God's relational nature. It encourages believers to embrace their role in partnerships, honor covenants, and marvel at the mystery of Christ's dual nature. Practical reflections and conclusion. The number 2 in the King James Bible is a multifaceted symbol of partnership, witness, confirmation, and duality. Its recurring presence in Scripture invites believers to reflect on God's design for relationships, the power of testimony, and the importance of discernment. In daily life, the number 2 can inspire. Valuing partnership, nurture marriages, friendships, and church communities with mutual support and shared purpose. Bearing witness, share faith boldly, often in collaboration with others, to testify to God's truth. Seeking agreement, pursue unity in prayer and decision-making, trusting God's promises for those who align with His will. Discerning choices, make intentional decisions that reflect God's truth, navigating the tension of duality with wisdom. While biblical numerology is not a blueprint for life, it offers a lens through which to view Scripture's depth and apply its truths. The number 2, in its simplicity and richness, encapsulates God's call for His people to live in partnership, testify to His grace, and choose His path. By exploring its meaning in the King James Bible, believers can draw closer to God's heart and live out His principles in their daily walk. In conclusion, the number 2 is a profound reminder of God's relational design and the power of two, whether in unity, witness, or choice. Its study enriches faith, fosters connection, and equips believers to navigate life with purpose and clarity.